one piece of advice I would give to all organizations is raise awareness amongst your employee base around the current trend of opportunistic attacks in that you as an organization, if you haven't been so already, are absolutely going to be targeted by. So for example, the SMS-based phishing or smishing, as it's called in the industry, attacks, where you're seeing a text message sent to one of your people posing to be from a colleague or a senior individual in the organization, or equally a government department, prompting you to go to a link and enter information. The more traditional based phishing attacks, we've seen a massive ramp up in those attacks. And I don't mean just the generic attacks, I mean very targeted attacks against your organization. They are being very successful at the moment, where organizations are receiving smishing or phishing based attacks targeted at them, designed to compromise just them due to the current situation. As a generalization, when people are working remotely, they are more inclined to click on links, to follow messages, because they think they're in their home, they're in a quote unquote safe environment. But it's important that you're educating users as to following procedures as you would in a normal office environment. But if anything, especially at the moment, be extra vigilant, seek advice, speak to colleagues, and act with an air of caution about anything that you're asked to do in the current time, especially if it's something you're not expecting.
The one piece of advice I'd give to companies that need to get their digital transformation moving quickly is to break it down into smaller chunks. One of the biggest problems with digital transformation programs is that they are massive and all-encompassing. And of course, we can't do that in a short timescale. For most people, there are some simple elements that you can do really quickly. That could be as simple as enabling a web chat system so that people can speak to you directly. It could be changing the way that you send out documentation to your customers so it's easier to read and broken down. For a lot of companies, this is going to be difficult because it's a change, but just think in simple bite-sized chunks, and that'll be the easiest way to work forwards.
The thing that's worked for us is to keep reinforcing positivity. We've had a lot of Zoom calls with all of the team on video. Every day we're doing stand-up at 9 o'clock. We're doing like a kind of stand-up all hands type video call just for 15 minutes, just to make sure everyone's good, to ask each other how we are, and just make sure that everyone's set and we're dealing with any issues. And that really seems to be helping. So we feel like we've got some of that closeness and unity that we had before, even though obviously we can't see each other face to face. So it seems to be working. I would say that, we don't know long term, but it seems to be working so far. And even to the extent that traditionally as a company, we would have a drink in the office on a Friday evening around 4:30ish, just a beer to close out the week. We've actually turned that into the virtual quarantini meeting, where people just dial in on video call, and we all toast each other and have a drink remotely. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. It remains to be seen whether that works for us, but so far so good.
As an industry, it's really important that we work together and we find common patterns that will work across the whole industry and for all of our clients. If the current period is personified by anything, it should be collaboration rather than working against each other. Although a lot of clients and companies have completely different ways of working, there are common threads that will work for a lot of them. Unless we actually actively collaborate, we're not going to see any of those things. The BCS has got an important role in this, marshalling and shepherding people together, finding those things that can be glued together and propagated out, and making sure that there's a communication channel for professionals in the area. If we don't do that, we're going to find this immensely difficult during this period, and we're going to find it even more difficult once we leave.